405, doing what we can to get a handle on this weekend. I'm going to start back over talking about the weather again. We'll walk back through some of that as we get set up for this hour, and still more of your phone calls too. A little bit of a lighter show today, except for the doom and gloom of this big weather story. And there's a lot of parts to it. It does. It takes me a solid 10 or 12 minutes just to walk through it every single time. By the way, All American Metals bringing you the show this hour. All American Metals is a wonderful company to get a steel building built for you, whether it's residential or commercial. I've got a residential use with a pole barn facility, and I call it a facility because it's such a flexible space. I get so much done with it. I entertain in there, store things in there, do projects. I got my home office and studio in this building, and it has just been a great asset for me in my daily life. Same thing for you if you've got any kind of property where you need a building like this. All American is turnkey. They'll do the whole thing, design work, produce the whole building, and deliver it to you, and then help you get connected with people in contracting that know how to put these buildings together and put them up. They go up so quickly. Once you've got your concrete down and they come out to do the install, that building's vertical and dried in very, very fast, and you can get to work on whatever else you want to do with it. The stamped engineered plans they provide are wonderful to help you with any kind of zoning or approvals or financing that you have to do. They're just there to hold your hand through the whole process. Good local folks, two families. They go back to the 60s putting up steel buildings. And I talk a lot about the residential projects, but there's no commercial size project that's too big for them. They can do gigantic warehouse operations, anything you need, they'll get it done for you. It's All American Metals. You can see some of their work at aa-metal.com, aa-metal.com. All right, let's pull up a couple of weather maps and start back over with that. This is going to be such an eventful time with everything that we're looking at this weekend. And like we said yesterday, and I know some of you have heard this already, you've heard this whole forecast if you've been listening, but it's 10 different forecasts in our one listening area, and it depends on which day you're talking about. So let's start at the beginning. Broad picture, the little notch or wedge, and I say little, it covers a good portion of Alabama, that developed in the forecast tools yesterday is still there, which protects the Birmingham area from a lot of the icing that is expected. There's been a little bit of a shift to the south. And it's funny because if you're on one side of that line, it could be a half inch to an inch of ice and just devastation to the infrastructure. And then just on the other side, nothing but cold rain. That's how sharp the contrast in the area is. Now that's the beginning of the event, and that's sort of the first round really, because we got that hanging out, dumping a lot of precipitation and frozen stuff on those counties. And it's still, as of tonight, the Warren counties remain up in the northwest corner of Alabama. Franklin, Lauderdale, Limestone's in part of this thing too. Russell County, all these well, not Russell County, Russellville, the Franklin County area. I believe Marion's caught up in this as well. So that map hasn't changed too much this afternoon. And again, that's changing over tomorrow into Sunday. For the rest of us, you may even see the temperature increase. Again, that sharp line between the warm air and the cold air. We could be in the 60s in part of our listening area tomorrow alone, and even part of Sunday. But then when it moves through, it's going to move through hard and fast, and there's still a chance for freezing rain and or sleet or snow, some mix coming in Sunday night around Metro Birmingham. It's there. It's not completely out of the forecast. It's in the realm of possibility. So we got to keep the outside chance that we could see bridge icing and or other transportation problems on Monday morning. Right now, this doesn't look like a big power outage scenario, but you never know when conditions are this inclement, what can cause localized power outages. So I'd still stay prepared. I'd have all my stuff where it needs to be in case things turn, because we know this is the South and the weather can flip on a dime. So that's kind of our weekend. Similar to what you've seen, Birmingham's kind of getting some protection from this little V-shaped, sort of upside down A-shaped notch in this system. Meantime, to our due east, Atlanta has been warned all afternoon of an ice warning. I mean, just straight east of us, if you drove right across the Georgia line, they've got a devastating forecast. And right now I'm watching officials in the airline industry go through their motions There are going to be thousands of flights canceled from all over the country that have to go through Atlanta. And so, even if you've got flight plans this weekend, if you typically fly from Birmingham over there, because that's where a lot of the exchange changes are for your main flights, you're not getting in or out. There are going to be cancellations. This could be really crippling to that major airport. And of course, as we know from airlines, that affects the whole country when that happens. So flight delays, cancellations, power outages, all that stuff starting this weekend. Looks like Atlanta and Georgia are going to get hit really thoroughly. The whole metro area, all the way down to almost to LaGrange, Georgia, down close to where I grew up. Just a huge ice storm. Now, let's move on through the week. So we get through the weekend, and then if we're lucky, it's just some inconvenience on Monday, and that's about it. But again, I got to keep saying it, prepare for a quick change and be ready just in case. So we get through Monday, and then we've got one of the coldest patterns we've had for the longest amount of time that we've had in years. Meteorologists can keep the records, but I've been watching some of the chatter today. So several hours below freezing on and off. Some days will thaw a little bit. But one of the maps I saw today just on the freezing hours, just the cumulative number of hours that will be below 32. For Birmingham, it's over 120. Last time I looked at that map. And of course, that's going to vary depending on if you live up on a hill or down in a valley or what part of the city that you live in. So here we go with that. So that necessitates you make sure you've got a reliable heat source. You're doing the right things by your pipes and that kind of infrastructure. So if we're lucky, we keep power, but then we're trying to keep our pipes protected. Your engines, I did some of that today, went through and make sure we had good coolant and everything, and just going through anything that's going to be sensitive to this kind of weather. I would dare say batteries on equipment or other things that you need to use. You might want to trickle charge on there if you have that kind of stuff to do, because this kind of weather just, if you got an old bad battery anyway, it's just going to kill it off with that many freezing hours. So that's this week. And then here comes the kicker. I don't mean to add insult to injury, but we've got new forecast models out today that show yet another snowstorm next weekend. Now, this placement is the complete opposite of this one. Now we're north of all the action in the city of Birmingham, and that line will move. The amounts will move, but this is the scenario. Again, not a forecast. I'm not a forecaster. I'm just telling you what they're looking at with these model runs. A potential tropical system. Think about how much moisture is involved in that coming up out of the Gulf. Not necessarily a hurricane, but just almost tropical in nature, where it's a load that's organized and moving and carrying a lot of water with it. Moves up into the Panhandle, into South Alabama and Georgia. And the next thing you know, you've got, I mean, you just got all kind of problems from there, because we got a sharp cold snap that comes down and meets it. So could be monumental snow from Clanton, Montgomery down to the coast. And then, of course, all the way down into Florida could be a massive snow or ice event. It looks really weird on the map to see it, to see that big tropical thing kind of swirling. But there we are, and there it is. And all we can do is keep watching it. So we've got days of this. I guess bottom line, we're talking, we're talking like 10, 15 days of inclement weather, at least 10. Some of these forecasts do go out further than that. So we don't deal with this very much in the South, but it is upon us, and we'll do what we can to deal with it as we roll along. 545-9950. If you want to get in on the show, bring it. We will take your phone calls and get you on the air and put you on the radio, 545-9950. And in a minute, I think, Craig's here. Okay, I teased that a second ago. Craig from over Birmingham Broker is joining us from the hotline. What's up, Craig?
Not much. How you doing?
Man, you say you need some cars, that your guys are chasing business right now. Let's talk about that.
I do. Our guys are selling over 40 a month so far, and I am desperately trying to keep up with them by getting more and more cars in here, and I just can't keep up. We've got 28 cars sold for the month, and I've only brought in 20. So I'm 8 behind, and I can't get shown up by the new guys. Things are going phenomenally well, but for some reason, I don't know what it is, but it's like cars are almost selling as soon as they get in now. they've been keeping a database, which we really have. We've kind of kept one, but these guys are really strong at keeping a database of what people are wanting. So when these cars are coming in now, they're reaching out immediately to these people and trying to get them laid down as quickly as possible. But it's like the small SUVs, the CRVs, the RAV4s, the RDXs, MDXs, Grand Cherokees. All of those are blowing out of here when we can get them in. And we also have a lot of people are asking about Accords and Camrys and Subarus and kind of the smaller, economical sedans as well. But really anything that's coming in is moving quickly, but these are just kind of hot ticket items right now.
Well, look, is there any kind of vehicle? Is it SUVs, trucks? What are people wanting right now?
Yeah, it's mainly the smaller SUVs seem to be what are trending for us right now. Small to mid-size, and then also like the sedans. The sedans. I've been so distracted lately. And which is why I want to catch up with you on the side. I have opened another business under the Birmingham Broker umbrella.
What?
I'm excited to share with y'all. But I want to talk to you about it. Cat out of the bag. Yeah. Well, go ahead. We'll talk about it.
Well, I'll wait and talk to you on the side, and we'll figure that out because I was going to try to get by there this week. You sent me a cryptic message about something you were involved in, and I never did hear back from you. But I'm going to come by there. If this weather's not too crazy, I want to come see y'all next week.
Yeah, and I need to talk to you about that because the message almost sounded perverted.
It was weird. It was completely weird. And I thought, but I know Craig, so that wasn't what I thought it was.
Between your legs. Yeah.
I was like, it's a motorcycle. It's a motorcycle.
It's these new electric dirt bikes that are everywhere. They're called like Surons and Talarias and E-Ride Pros and Falcon GTs and all that. They're the most therapeutic things I've ever done. And this is something that I've been bonding with James over because, he's been buying and selling these things and having a blast doing it on Marketplace. And so I've kind of gotten involved. We've ordered a bunch of new bikes. We proved our concept. So I have now I've probably got 50 bikes coming in, and we're opening a business. It's going to be called BB Electric.
Okay.
And it's going to be all, some of the pedal bikes, but it's mainly going to be all these electric moto bikes that are kind of running around now that are phenomenally fast. They run between 7 kilowatts and 30 kilowatts, so you can get as much power as you want. But they're great for farms. Some of them, the big thing trending right now with these are for the hunters. The hunters love to put a gun bag on it and a rack on the back and get out there quietly to their hunting stand, do what they do, and throw something on the back or put their gun, get all their stuff back out there without disturbing anything. So anyway, I'm excited about you coming and checking these things out. I want to get you riding one.
I'm gonna do that. That's happening. That's going down. Well, good to talk to you, Craig. We'll try to get you some customers down there to get some cars sold. It's just a good time to sell. You're going to make top dollar right now, and Craig and his team can flat do that for you.
No doubt about it. Man, I really appreciate you guys and everybody in the audience. Every day somebody's bragging about you in 99.5, and we certainly appreciate everybody.
Man, that's kind of you. Appreciate it, Craig. Thank you, buddy.
All right, man. Bye.
If y'all are watching on the YouTube feed, I know it looks fuzzy. AJ, that's not because there's anything wrong with the equipment. I just look like that today. I'm very fuzzy. I woke up fuzzy. So, let's go to, is Steven still there? Let's get some other phone calls in here. I appreciate all the calls tonight. Steven, what's up, line 4? What's going on, buddy?
Hey, Jay. In Leland. I've been listening to y'all, I guess, for the last 16 years.
Man.
A daily pleasure listening to you.
Well, thank you. What's going on tonight?
Well, the call about the guy with the heart problems, kind of stuck me. In 2009, I had colon cancer. Here locally, they wanted like $20,000 up front to do testing on me. I had a friend that was willing to spend $5,000 to get a colonoscopy for me. I said, no way I let you spend that kind of money on me. And I had basically, killed me to eat. Had already fought for like 2 years to try to survive. Had lost down to 118 pounds.
Goodness.
Anyway, and I think God sent me this other poor boy friend, and he told me that how UAB Charitable Care saved his wife's life. So I went down there to Kirkland and filled out the papers. They actually got me in there really quick, Leland. and was terminal.
Mm.
The surgeon said I was not expected to live, but I might as well have the surgery. And like I said, this is 2009, Leland. And in less than a year, it was like $240,000. I mean, where are you going to get that kind of money? But this is a program, UAB Charitable Care, for people that was really sick and does
Yeah.
not have insurance. It is not advertised. And if this man that I met to become a good friend of mine hadn't have told me about that, I wouldn't have knew anything about it, Leland. And which, like I said, was not supposed to live, survive, but might as well have the surgery. They ended up saying I was a miracle.
Wow.
They canceled my radiation and my chemotherapy. I did not have to go through that, Leland. You can just imagine how thankful about that I was. So in a little over 3 years, I'll be 20 years cancer free.
Well, man, I love a good redemption story and a comeback. That is, I'm glad you shared
But
that with us
say
today.
somebody like this man, I don't know, but you can go down there like I did, fill out the paperwork right down there in Kirkland. As soon as you go over the walkway, it's on the right, where you fill out the papers for you. I try to pass this along to people.
Sure, yeah.
Because so many people's got family and friends that are sick and things. And being that I did not die, because it said originally you wouldn't have to do a thing and you'd have everything, I had the wrong lawyer, and it took me a while to get my disability and Medicaid. And I stayed in this UAB Charitable Care for a few years until I got my disability and Medicaid, which now, hey, I go down there with Medicaid. I have a surgery for $4. But,
I got you.
That's what Medicaid, right? And, but like I said, in less than a year, that was like $240,000. And I wouldn't let my friend, this other guy, which he still looks, checks on me all the time, that was willing to spend $5,000 to get me a colonoscopy up here. But they wanted to do $20,000 worth of tests up here that they wanted the money up front.
Right. Yeah, that's all so confusing.
UAB Charitable Care. Hey, maybe that'll help somebody, right?
Well, Stephen, I appreciate you passing that word along. A lot of folks wouldn't have known about that, and I'm glad you're doing well, my brother. That's good stuff, brother.
Yeah. Like I said, in a little over 3 years, it'll be 20 years cancer-free, buddy. And I love y'all. God bless you, buddy.
Hallelujah. That's good stuff. Thank you, Stephen. Stephen with a good word tonight. It's always good when you're going through stuff to hear people that made it, and I'm glad he was able to share that. I'll tell you what, let's get this break in here, AJ. Then we'll come back. I see Bob over there. He always calls us from Germany. Your calls, too, were a little bit looser tonight. We don't have screaming headlines, just watching the weather, really. 545-9950 if you want to do that. Lead on live. All right, let's get back at it again. Leland Live Talk 995. Let's get Bob in here before we do anything else. He's calling all the way from Germany. We got to put him to the front of the line. What's up, Bob?
Oh, dear Leland, I love and miss you guys. I wanted to comment about you and Richard Dixon. Both of you guys hit on, when you go hit on the targets that ought to be spoken about, you really do. And one of the biggest problems in the U.S. has right now is what you were commenting on about these careerists that sit in the seats cemented in, and if they ever got out of them, they went back to get a job, they couldn't find one because they're so glad to get the money and they don't care about anything. I call them turncoats. That's going to be the hardest cement to blast out of there, because when I mean, everything's going good, what Trump's doing, as far as I'm concerned, but they're not with it because they want to keep their places.
Yeah, the biggest problem,
I think, join the Democrats and do everything against what.
Well, they did on some of this.
Everything down.
Some of this woke funding, and the thing is, what they're doing, and they just won't learn this lesson, is they're demoralizing their own base. MAGA voters that support Trump aren't in love with the Republican Party. They vote for him out of necessity, and then when they get let down, they're not going to show up in the midterms. So they keep voting for stuff Trump's team cut out. Congress restores this funding with the help of Republicans. They can't get SAVE Act passed. If they keep failing us, we're just not going out to the polls in the midterms.
Right, sir. I just deeply respect you and Richard Dixon. When you go on your I call it rants right now, for the lack of a better word, but it's so true, and it's so down to earth what you're talking about. You two really hit the targets, and I just love listening to you and Richard Dixon.
All right, man. Well, look, thank you, Bob, and you take it easy over in Germany, and appreciate your calls all the time. We'll do the bottom of the hour break and come right on back. This is Leland Live Talk 995. Your calls too, if you want to get in here on a Friday before the big winter fern death storm hits us this weekend, or hits part of the state this weekend. Back here in just a minute. Lord have mercy. Here we go again. Leland Live, talking to NM5 Work Trucks, bringing you this show tonight, TRUX. If you need a work truck, and you know what I mean, if you ever seen a commercial-based sort of cargo van, just plain white, no frills, get it done kind of van, they've got them. They've got them. Those Sprinter vans, those high-top Sprinter vans are just huge nowadays for transporting people or things. They got a lot full of them. Box trucks are ubiquitous in business and getting things hauled around. They've got those box trucks and then everything else. The pickup trucks, clean and straight or outfitted like you need them. Low miles, everything's been checked out or it won't be on the lot. Bubba and his team do take that very seriously, their 125-point checklist. They go through that thing. Every single element has to be right or they won't put it on the lot. So not only do they vet the best trucks in the industry for low miles and no damage and all that, but they give them a workover when they put them on their lot. And when they hit the lot in Birmingham, they're ready for work. And that's why they call them work trucks. Put an X in there when you spell it. If you've got a need for a vehicle like this year, get in there and get to know these guys. It's a nice place to handle your fleet management without having to pull your hair out trying to figure it out yourself. TRUX, WorkTrucksLLC.com, WorkTrucksLLC.com. Hey, our buddy JJ's over on line 4. I'm digging all the calls tonight. What you got, JJ? What's on your mind?
Hey, Leland, what do you think about Mo Brooks qualifying to run in House seat District 20?
Yeah, I just heard that earlier today, and I guess he just wants to stay active. And I don't know what his chances
not
are.
Running against one of the three guys you mentioned. That would be that might be an improvement.
I think Mo came away from that Senate race. This guy's, he's been in the fields with Republicans doing the hard work, and he was a rock solid congressperson, but he got run over by the money machine out of Washington in that Senate race, and I think maybe that just left him where he didn't want to fool with Washington politics anymore.
Yeah.
I like Mo. If I was up there, I'd vote for him.
Yep. All right. Thanks.
All right, JJ. Let me re-mention, and I don't have a direct monitor on this, but I'll be keeping up if there are any surprises. Qualification or qualifying, as we call it here in Alabama, for at least the Republican ballot closes today at 5 o'clock. Now, I was pretty fired up at the beginning of the hour with Adderholt and Mike Rogers and even Dale Strong voting for some of this woke funding in Congress. I was just incensed by it. And I wish if they had serious primary opposition in this state, they wouldn't do these things. They get away with it because they don't have opposition and they know people forget, and they've just horse traded the vote for something they fundamentally, I know those guys, I know 2 or 3 of them, they don't believe in these things, but they'll sell their souls just because they want to trade votes and get what they need out of these budgets. And it appears they did it again with 76 other Republicans. And so I was pretty frustrated. But what that has to do with qualifying is we've got qualifying. Today's the last day, and they're supposed to be wrapping that up at 5 o'clock. That's the deadline. You got to get in the door with your check and get on the ballot. There could be some surprises. Sometimes on the last day they are. People like to use the surprise effect and just go qualify at the last minute and get involved in these races. And so if that's the case, we'll let you know if there's anything new. And I've told a couple stories already this year about people that qualified at the last minute and shook up the race. The most impactful was probably Fob James back in '94 when he came out of the Democrat side of the state and decided to run as a Republican for governor and blew apart all of the best laid plans for the Republican Party's handpicked candidate, and that wound up being an epic race in and of itself. But we'll keep an eye. I think there's some people over there at the party office that might give me a heads up if there's any major news out of that. Otherwise, we've got an odd election year. Let's handicap that for just a second. We've got one of those election years where you've got almost a shoe-in for governor. We haven't had a competitive governor's race. I guess you'd call the 2010 race once Riley stepped down. I suppose you'd call that competitive because the AEA got in, and that's how Bentley wound up winning. It was this. I've always said it was a NASCAR wreck, and the slowest car won because the fast cars got in a wreck, and the slow car that stayed out of the wreck wound up winning the race. And boy, we regretted that. That was a disaster. But Riley's 2002 race, the one I was involved in, was highly competitive and came down to a razor wire and a 3-day recount and all this other crazy stuff. And then his second race was a shoe-in, and we had that weird race in 2010, and it's just been non-competitive. We don't have a whole lot of people trying to run, and largely that's because the Democrat Party doesn't exist. And then we get the Senate race, and it will be competitive. It's the hottest thing in the country as we go forward in that with some candidates that mean business and are capable of raising money and delivering a message. And we'll be having candidate forums and debates and all the things that you would expect. And so that's going to be a hot ticket this year. Trump has weighed in already in the primary, which is, that also goes against party norm because he's not a party guy. He didn't grow up, wearing the jacket and having the official handshake. Usually you sort of stay out of primary matters. Sometimes you'll endorse, sometimes you won't if you're the sitting incumbent president. But he's weighed in hard for the structure, and so the party chairman, the Republican Party, got Trump's endorsement in the LG race. That's going to be interesting, but most people ignore that. That's not a high profile. It's statewide, but that doesn't make it high profile. But it may get some attention because it'll be crowded. And then, of course, anything else on the ballot, and then your local guys going at it. So I hope there's some surprises. I need something to talk about because, to be real with you, it's a boring election year. There's no real fire in any of these races other than the Senate race, and that's got its own weird dynamic. But we'll be covering it. It's what we do from time to time. We will interview some of the candidates. I get a lot of questions about that. I can't do all the candidates. I cannot do it. You start opening it up to the smaller races, and then you start to exclude people, and you don't want to do that. And then you have to have every Yahoo that's signed up to run for everything in the state on the show, and then I don't have a radio show for a half a year. I can't do it. We got other things to do, and we're not strictly political here. We do a little bit of everything. Especially this week, it's all about the weather. But I'm excited to have the qualifying done so we at least know how the fields are set. And that'll be over in 17 minutes. And we'll give you any headlines that we draw from the party headquarters as the last few minutes to sign up are upon us. EcoView Windows, let's talk about your house and staying warm. You might notice how bad it is. Boy, if there's ever a week when you know how the cold weather gets in, it's this week with these temperatures we're going to be dealing with all the way through next week. I've always said in the winter you can kind of go stand by your windows and doors, and you can sense that draft. It feels a little bit colder and drafty over there, and that's a heat exchange that's not healthy for your wallet and very uncomfortable when you're trying to keep your house regulated. It's just your leaky windows are fighting against your furnace, and you don't need that. Let EcoView and Becky Jackson's team come and get you buttoned up. This is what they do, and they do it day in and day out. It's ecoviewwindows.com, ecoviewwindows.com. They believe they can save you 35% on your heating bills, and I believe it too. That's the industry average of people that have leaky windows and what they're losing. So what that tells you is Becky stands behind their product. And by the way, that's an average. Some of y'all may be losing half your money because of your